Devlin, Untamed. The platform.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Martin Devlin, Auckland, iOS. It's only sport. We do a live radio show on the platform 1 till 4 every afternoon. This is the highlights package of today's program. The platform, what is it? It's an app. You download the app. You can listen to live and free independent media 9 hours a day. On this particular podcast, what the hell is going wrong with Devon Conway? Another failure. Is this now a crisis not only of confidence, of technique? Rahul Patil is all over that. Eliza McCartney joining us fresh from Triumph in Paris on the weekend, has jumped the highest out of any woman in the world this year in the pole vault. Super Rugby had a big launch party today. Captain's call it was at the Viaduct. Jamie Ward all over that. Champions League back, the round of 16. Brendan Telfer talking Halbergs. And of course, it's February the 14th. Roses are red. Violets are blue. I think the Warriors will make the top 8. Do you? We begin the show, as always. Tablets in hand, I say gather my flock. It's time for a sermon. Trent Boulder's back. Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Trent Boulder's back in the Black Caps, people. Great news for New Zealand cricket fans. Or not. He's fit, firing and available to play Australia starting next week, only in the second and third T20s, though. You see, that's the clue that should tell you why this isn't perhaps what most New Zealand cricket fans wanted to hear. He's in the team to play just the last 2 T20s, but not the 2 tests that start just 4 days after the Tri Series finishes. And that really sucks. Look, he can do what he wants. Trent Boult can do what he wants. And clearly playing for his country is a whim these days, not a want. When he feels like it, when it's a world championship, like the One-Day World Cup, when it's this glamorous series against Australia, I'm available. I'd love to play. Yeah, of course I would. But what about knuckling down for the 2 test matches, which are really important for the whole of New Zealand cricket, for the legacy of New Zealand cricket, for everything about, no. Look, I've got this other, yeah. And my beef isn't with Trent Boult. My beef is with New Zealand cricket, who clearly, very clearly, keep telling all of us that they care about Test cricket, when also equally clearly they don't. They talk like they do, but they just really don't. And this is just the best evidence of so far. And this is just such evidence of that. We all know that in 10 years' time, in 2 years' time, in 2 months' time, no one's going to remember the result of these 3 T20s. But if we happen to beat Australia in even one of those 2 tests, that will be remembered and talked about forever, because it's only happened 6 times in 45 tests against them. And the last time was 13 years ago, and the time before that was 31 years ago. It's a generational thing if we manage to beat Australia in a test match. But Trent Boult won't be there because he's got another vitally important, crucially crucial, forever memorable IPL T20 tournament in the Whitsundays or the Seychelles or Stewart Island or somewhere else to play. And New Zealand cricket don't have the red balls to tell him no, it's either both or none. So this comes back to NZC and its administrators. All they care about is the hit and giggle and the supposed bottom line. What they don't care about, and demonstrably so, what they don't care about is the one true form of the game that does stand the test of time.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The platform.
Auckland 112, headlines are what?
Headlines are cricket related to start off with, the Black Caps and South Africa. What is it, lunch now?
Slunch.
27 for 1 New Zealand after 16 overs. This in reply to South Africa's 242, which they managed to get in a little over 97 overs. We bowling out South Africa for 242 earlier today. In terms of the wickets, 4. Yes, 4 for Will O'Rourke on debut. Big round of applause. Good stuff from Will O'Rourke. 3 for Rachin Ravindra. I believe he got 2 of those yesterday. And then Tim Southey, Matt Henry and Neil Wagner all getting 1 each as well. In terms of the New Zealand batters so far, Tom Latham is unbeaten on 17. Devon Conway a duck off 3 balls. Now, I'm just going to quickly run through Devon Conway's last 7 innings.
Okay, all small furry creatures out of the room. Young children, cover your ears. This is not pleasant listening.
12, 22, 11, 2, 1, 29, 0.
Okay, yeah.
He hasn't gotten above... He's gotten above 50 twice since February last year, since this time last year in Test cricket.
Two words, Henry Nichols.
What?
Henry Nichols.
No, don't know. Because this is what he managed in his first sort of first handful of matches. He got 200 against England on debut in his very first innings. He managed to get 80 in the next test against England. Test after that against India, the World Test Championship, had 54. Next test after that against Bangladesh and Mount Maunganui, 122. The next test, 109. Then 2 tests later, 92 against South Africa. So his first 7 or 8 tests, he was getting 50 or more on a number of occasions, including a couple of centuries and a double century. He is good. Just need to hurry
Not
up
right now, he's not. No.
right now. Anyway, Black Caps at his lunch just quickly again. 27 for 1 they are. First session in the books. All right, sticking with the Black Caps, but the T20 format, veteran bowler Trent Boulder's back in the national side. He's been selected for the T20s against Australia, but only 2 of them, not all 3 of them. He hasn't played a T20 international since November 2022, has Trent Boult. Daryl Mitchell, Kane Williamson are unavailable. That means that Josh Clarkson and Rachin Ravindra have been selected in the T20 squad for next week's 3 games. Blues captain Patrick Tuipulotu has managed to avoid surgery for his broken jaw. He suffered the injury earlier this month, but after returning to New Zealand immediately to go under the knife for repairs, Tuipulotu was met with some very welcome news from medical staff who informed him he won't require surgery after all. Rugby League news, returnees Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Chanel Harris-Tavita have been named to start in the club's NRL pre-season hit-out, the Warriors NRL pre-season hit-out, that is, of course, against the West Tigers in Christchurch on Sunday. Though, good job, News Hub, you misspelled Chanel's name. They spelled it C-H-E-N-A-L. Chanel. Chanel.
That's the Indian version.
Yeah. So please fix that, News Hub. Kiwi swimmer Erica Fairweather has continued her stellar form at the World Aquatic Championships in Doha, qualifying fastest for the women's 200-metre freestyle final. That'll be, she did that, earlier today. Perhaps another gold medal. So she became the first New Zealander to win a gold medal at the Swimming World Champs. Now she could maybe get 2. Who knows? Champions League on this morning, just 2 matches. The first legs of a couple of round of 16 ties, they being Man City beating Copenhagen 3-1 away. Real Madrid beating RB Leipzig 1-0 away. We have 2 on tomorrow. PSG, Real Sociedad, Lazio and Bayern Munich as well. And it feels like all just a meaningless procession as we head towards the semi-finals or final stage. That'll probably see Man City winning the whole thing. Is that fair to say? I think it is. And just as I sort of look through the sports news websites, it looks like there's not much else going on. So, Martin, that's what's making news.
Devlin.
Oh, my goodness me!
The platform.
Devon Conway, ladies and gentlemen. Is it a crisis now? Surely if technique as much as confidence. 12, 22, 11, 2, 1, 29. And today, out for naught of 3 balls. This guy started his test career with a 200. Look, I know, what is it? Form is temporary, class is permanent, but hell, he needs to find some form that is before the T20s against Australia next week and then 2 test matches against Australia. Rahul Patil. What's gone wrong with Conway? Devon Conway then. Lachlan, go through again. Give us the last 7 scores in Test cricket for Conway or what?
Hold up.
They weren't flash.
Stand by.
He started off with the rocket, remember? He got 200 on debut. He got another century after that, and he was hitting well over 50, but that was a year ago.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened with Henry Nichols as well. He got 200 against Sri Lanka at home and then went off the boil. He got dropped for ration. So what is Conway?
In his last 3.5 tests, he has gotten 12, 22, 11, 2, 1, 29, and now 0.
Rahul, what are you seeing when you're looking at him? What is he doing wrong exactly?
I've seen a few of his dismissals, and what starts off happening as, he's just having a bad run or whatever. Your technique, the faults in your technique start creeping in. I saw him in the last game, and he got LBW when he plonked his front foot down the wicket, tried to play around his front pad with his bat. The head kept falling away, and then there was no once you start doing that, you're always going to be in trouble. What started off as a brilliant World Cup with that 150 that he scored against England seems like such a long time back,
doesn't it?
Because it does feel, and he's just been failing to get starts. And when he does get starts, Conway was the one guy who would always convert his starts into big, massive scores. And even though he's got starts, like there was a 29 somewhere there, Conway in his prime form would never have thrown away that start. But the moment that starts happening, you start seeing that, actually there is a loss of form here. There's a loss of confidence. There's potentially a loss of concentration, which is coming in. And the mind is a bit muddled. So this attack was his best opportunity to get some runs under his belt before the big series against Australia. Because make no mistake, if they smell that he's short of runs, short of confidence, they will be all over him like a pack of wolves.
Yeah, they will. And that's what they do. They hunt as a pack and they sniff blood, don't they? So he's got another innings here, you would think. Well, unless, of course, we go on and get a big 500 or something like that and then bowl them out cheaply. He's potentially got one more innings against the South African attack. I'm just checking. Lachlan, can you just check that? I think has he been named? He must have been named in the T20.
Yes.
Yeah, he has been named in the T20
Yes.
says.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's hardly the best preparation playing that form of cricket to then face Australia in the red ball, is it? But I mean, he's at least got a few more at-bats. Just percentage chance in your mind that the Black Cap selectors might think, dude, we might have to just rest you for this first test against Australia. And if so, who would come in his place?
Two things. I think it's good that he's got 3 T20 innings against Australia. And the reason I say that, sometimes if it's just a matter of getting runs under your belt in any format it might be, and if it's a confidence thing, it's great that he's going to play some T20s. Hopefully he gets some good batting wickets and he goes out there and just smashes it, and he might find himself coming back in form that we all know. So that's the good thing. I really don't think that the Black Cap selectors, knowing how loyal and the history that they have with players, that they will drop him. But if and only if they had to ever kind of look for a replacement, potentially Will Young, who's in the side, will come in as opener, but I don't see that happening.
It is Valentine's Day, though. Yesterday. What are you doing for Valentine's Day, Lachlan?
That was a bit harsh. You didn't need to do that.
Well, say that with enthusiasm.
What are my plans tomorrow night? Well, Wednesdays is usually quiz night, but some of our quiz members have girlfriends and boyfriends. So, quiz is cancelled.
Quiz is cancelled.
And then I had another sort of loose plan, which is now next Wednesday.
Well, we're talking about your plans for Valentine's Day
I don't know,
night.
cook some dinner, watch a movie.
Okay, well, that's
do some work.
romantic as hell by yourself, isn't it?
Well, of course I'll be by myself.
Devlin,
Oh, how does he do that? How does he do that?
the platform.
Roses are red, violets are blue. This test series is going to end South Africa 0, New Zealand 2.
That was quite good.
Any agreement, disagreement with that?
Yeah, I like that one. Give that
Yeah,
a nice
no-
ding.
Okay. Roses are red, violets are blue. I think Dame Lisa Carrington will win the Supreme Halberg Award tonight. Again, do you?
Well, who else is there?
Well,
With respect to all the people nominated.
As far as the women are concerned, I'd like to see Courtney Duncan get it, just because I'd like to see somebody different win it. But the way that the judges work, and it's no disrespect. I don't, I'm not in any way devaluing Lisa Carrington's achievements, but the world canoeing champs to me are like the world cycle, the world row. The world champs are the Olympics. The gold medal is the world champs of those sports. So anything outside of that isn't, to me, on the same level as winning a world championship. It might be called that, but I can't accept it as that. I'd like to see Courtney Duncan win.
The Supreme Award, though?
Well, the Supreme Award, I don't think that she's going to get that. I don't think that she'd get that, but I'd like to see her recognise that. Roses are red, violets are blue. You heard it here, folks. Warriors finish top 2. Oh,
Come on.
Come on, man.
Based on what?
Because it's Valentine's Day and I'm full of love.
Are you also full of hate because you're reminded of the lack of love you were shown by your other half for so many years? The Warriors never making the top 8. You sit there and go, well, I love you a lot, but you haven't done much for me over the last sort of 20, 25 years.
The Commanders.
Yeah.
No
Man
love at all
United,
there.
what have you done for about the last 10 years? There you go.
Roses are red, violets are blue. We want a new waterfront stadium, but Auckland, do you?
I hope they do.
Same. You know, I mean, I haven't gone online and read comments and things because I gave up. I used to follow this a bit when I was working in mainstream media, but it's just that 9 out of every 10 people that comment are Kylie Bunny 13. They're not a real person. They're a pseudonym of a name. And unless you put who you are and where you work beside it, I'm not interested. Because to me, if you're hiding behind a pseudonym, you can write whatever it is you want to write. And it doesn't have to be real and it doesn't have to be true. And you can be somebody else in your own mind when you're writing that. And so much of it, especially when I was working at NZME, is just obviously deliberately provocative from people because they then think, oh, I got to reply to that one, I got to reply to that. And it's just, So I'd love to know somebody doing a proper survey. But again, I don't want the council to spend money on that because I don't want my rates to be wasted on that, as to how many people would seriously like that new stadium or even like the idea. Finally, roses are red, violets are blue. I'm convinced Kane is going to hit a century today. Are you?
So much so that I've put money on it.
Oh,
Put down $25 for him to get a century.
Paying?
We'll pay 85. It's a good number.
Good bet.
$3.40 on
Nice
Bet365.
bet. 14 not out of 57. And as Rahul told us...
We're on 18 now.
18 now. And that means that he's in. His eye is in. And it's just... South Africa, are you good enough to bowl him out? You haven't been?
No. This is a D team.
Eliza McCartney, bronze medal in the pole vault. And that was in Brazil 2016. Horrendous run of injuries. But on the weekend in France at the indoor gold meet, jumped 484, and that's the best jump out of any woman on the planet so far this year who pole vaults for a living. Cock-a-doodle-doo. It's a great way to start the year, Eliza. 4.84, that is the highest recorded jump so far, any female athlete with the pole vault. So that's a hell of a start to the year.
It is a good start to the year, although I feel like I should caveat with that at this time of year they get broken all the time, but it's really cool to be able to hold it even if it is just going to be for a short time.
So what exactly is the meet that you did this in?
Well, this was over in Liévin in France, which in France they really actually do love their indoor competitions and particularly pole vaults. So it was one of the Continental Tour A-level meets or gold meets. So pretty big competition for the indoor circuit and a really great opportunity to jump with some of the best vaulters in the world.
So was everyone that you're going to be competing against at the Olympics was there?
Well, no, not everybody. We were missing some Americans. We were missing some of the other top athletes like Nina Kennedy from Australia. So no, it wasn't what is likely to play out at, for example, the Olympics, but it was still a really strong field and more than that, it was a strong field and a few vaulters actually brought a pretty amazing jumps. So it was actually a really nice opportunity because in a couple of weeks we have our World Indoor Championships and I'm assuming the field's going to be a little bit like that, but probably a bit better.
In terms of, what you've been jumping in practice and jumping in training and what you're targeting, is this kind of ticking all the boxes that you want to be ticking right now?
I think it's ticking more boxes than I was expecting, to be honest. It's much more than I expected this early in the year, because as everyone knows, it's a big year ahead. And not only do we have the Olympics coming up, but as I just mentioned, we have our World Indoor Champs, which only happens every 2 years. So it's a pretty big year for us. And I just feel like I'm progressing really, really nicely, just as we want. I've got plenty of time ahead for the rest of the year. And basically what we've been working on in training has just been coming out in competitions so well, and it's always really exciting when that happens. It's what you aim for, but it doesn't always happen. So it's just been a really great month of training and competitions and just is starting to show, which is awesome.
How important is it to you to be feeling really good about this? And when we spoke last year, everything that you've gone through and the injuries and everything and where it leaves you and then rebuilding that confidence and not only, being able to jump where you want to jump and how high you want to jump, but actually winning.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't win things very often, I have to say.
Right.
It's a little bit shocking sometimes. I mean, like, I obviously I win things occasionally, but particularly in this sort of field overseas and big competitions, I don't tend to win things. And so it was actually a really lovely, just cherry on the top to have that win. But of course, it's not, well, people see it differently, but I don't see winning as necessarily the ultimate goal or outcome of a competition, particularly when you're building over a whole year. So it was just a really lovely kind of cherry on top. But these things don't always you're working on a whole lot of things in a competition. So there's a lot of other focuses that we were trying to tick as well.
Eliza McCartney with us, a 4.84 to triumph at the World Athletics Indoor Tour Gold Meet in France over the weekend. Look, part of it is that I know that, it's a solo sport where you're competing against yourself and setting your own standards, wanting to beat your own marks, but it's completely different also when you get into that competitive thing where you've got other athletes around you. And so trying to sort of keep them at arm's distance as well. Do you like that part of it? Do you is how much of a buzz is that?
Yeah, I think pole vault, I mean, all field events, but pole vault in particular is certainly one of those events where you are competing against yourself. And, I jumped 84 and that was a season best for me and that was really good, but someone could have easily also jumped that and then jumped 90 the next height as well. And I don't have any control over that at all. And it, it wouldn't change how I perceive how well I jumped. It would still be a great competition for me. I achieved what I wanted to. I walked away happy. Whether I kind of end up ultimately winning or not, I think, not everybody in field events, I suppose, thinks that way, but I certainly do, and pole vault lends itself to that. And I think you see it in the camaraderie between pole vaulters, both the men and women. Everyone gets along incredibly well. They're great friends. You spend a lot of time out there with each other, not to mention at the hotels and at meals and everything in between as well, and people are cheering each other on. They genuinely want to see people do well, so it's an interesting sport, and I mean personally it suits me. I really like that ability to get along with the people you're competing with, to kind of help raise the sport together rather than kind of have this I don't know, just a rivalry that's just unpleasant for everybody. So, no, I really enjoy it.
I love the fact you see, you just say, I say 4.84, you just say 8.4. So when you say 8.4, there's a 4 before it. What say you were jumping fives? I mean, what would you do then? I mean, or is it just that everyone is just jumping 4 metres, something?
Well, yes, at the moment that's what's happening with the women, and the men are a little bit different. There's a lot of 5s, but there's also 6s now, quite commonly with the men. But yes, I guess that's just the slang of the sport. We just presume there's a 4 in front until someone gets back to 5 metres, I guess.
4.94 is your best. So what does it take to keep increasing that and getting another 10 centimetres out of you? Or is that not your target yet? I mean, because what I'm trying to sort of get to is how do you kind of taper it down and actually build so that you're absolute peak when it comes to Paris and the Olympics?
Well, yeah, that's the ultimate question, isn't it, for any athlete? It's trying to be at your peak at the major event of the year, and it's incredibly difficult to do, and it's why that it's, the best person on the day is the one that gets the medal, because it's, it's not easy, and it's not necessarily the best person in the world, although often it is, but you know what I mean? It's a real challenge in sport. And really at the moment I'm progressing quite as we would like. I think I actually just did a debrief with my coach today, Scott Simpson, and we were doing video analysis of all the jumps I did, and it was actually really exciting because some of the jumps actually weren't particularly good, and actually the 484 was possibly one of my least technical jumps, which is super exciting because I think if I could put everything together into one jump, it will go high. But right now there's kind of fragments across the whole competition, so I think that'll be the thing we're working on is consistency with every jump from here on, because I think all the pieces are actually there. And again, the challenge of sport, particularly a technical event, is bringing that all together at the same time. And it's hard to do, and that's why it's a hard sport.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
The Tight Five.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute or so on each. And when the bell goes ding like that, yes, it reminds us we've got to move on to the next topic. 52 for 1. Kane Williamson, 18 of 69, and Latham, 32 of 76. Conway out cheaply. Should we be worried about Conway? Hell yes, Lachlan. What is going wrong with that guy? How do you fix his form before the Australian series, T20 and then tests? Super Bowl, most watched TV broadcast of all time. No great shakes or surprises, because out of the top 100 most watched TV programs ever in the United States, something like 97 or 98 of them are Super Bowls or NFL games, right? Trent Bolt back in the Black Caps, and I started on this. And I know that you've got a bit of a different take on this. I don't want to be anti, but I don't greet this news with any fervour or clamour or happy at all. I think it's about time New Zealand cricket grew some, and they said, listen, if you don't want to play for us, that's okay. We got other guys that do, and actually start giving these younger bowlers those glamour games. Halberg's tonight. I've already chosen my People's Choice Award, which is the All Blacks, and we've had a few texts in here saying, yeah, I agree with that, or that Warriors come back against Cronulla. Lachlan, what do you prefer out of the nominees? Champions League results today. And yeah, maybe a Valentine's Day sports wish as well. But let's kick it with the Super Rugby launch. And Jamie's going to be all over this for us in about, 10 minutes or so. We've seen the piggies, all the captains together. Snippets of sound bites are starting to come out in the news. Again, I applaud what they're doing or what they're trying to do. They're trying to get some hype going. And the easiest way to do it is to butter up the journos and the news reporters. You haven't been long in this game, Lachlan, but I can tell you right now, and Dear Leader will back me up as well, if you put free or food and beverage provided or free refreshments at the end of your press release, you will get everybody in the newsroom going.
Yep.
The way to a newspaper headline or inclusion in the sports news or on the news, put some food and piss on for the journos, because we are gluttons for it, aren't we?
Yeah,
Greedy
we absolutely are.
Gluttons.
Yep, greedy. We're gluttons. We love food. We love drink.
Yeah.
And when it's free.
And it's free.
Far out. We love that.
And if it's free, you get something nice written about you. I'm not joking here, people. That's how easy it is. You know, what do you think the Labour Party and that government did for 6 years? They buttered up the journos. They started paying them. They started giving them money. Cozy little drinking sessions, buying them, this and that afterwards. Flying them on these trips over to the United States to tell the world that, the Prime Minister has solved gun crime. This is all the freebie stuff. You start giving out the freebies, and honestly, you get better coverage. I can after having worked in this business for 30 years. But, it's difficult, isn't it, when you think about Super Rugby to hype it up in terms of, we all know already, Lachlan, who the top 4, if not 5, 6 teams are. That won't change. As much as I like the Indrua, they're not going to win the competition. Moana Pacific aren't going to win the competition. None of the Australian sides are going to win the competition. One of them might wriggle its way through to 4th or 5th because they get an easier draw because they play the Australian teams more often than we do, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be the Crusaders or the Chiefs most likely will win the competition. I'm not even going to mention the Blues because, well, they will choke as they always do when the pressure comes on.
Maybe Vern Cotter can turn them around a bit. Maybe sharpen up their attitude.
Maybe. But, they've got to do what they can, don't they? And the best way to do that, I think, is to put those who are playing the stars and the personalities out in front of the public as much as you possibly can, and that started today. So that's good.
Well, why can't you get them in front of the public?
Well, because they don't
They're in
like
front of
they
just
don't,
the journos.
They don't like it, mate.
Well, then your product's going to suffer.
The
You're not going to
players
get
don't like
any
it.
interest
The players,
or any
the players aren't interested in the public.
Put your product in front of the fans, in front of your audience, and then they'll... What's that famous quote from that film? Book them and they will come.
They will come.
Build the stadium.
That's
Book
it.
them and they will come. Sorry, that's Wayne's World 2 when they do But yeah, they will come. Have an event. Fans will come.
Okay, well, here's, Black Mark first one. Highlanders, Hurricanes, last weekend, Forsyth Bar Stadium warm-up game. So, and here are the Warriors taking the West Tigers to Christchurch. They could easily play that game at Mount Smart and probably sell 20,000 tickets. They won't sell as many. Why are they taking it to Christchurch, Lachlan?
Because they'll sell tickets? I don't know.
Because Christchurch doesn't get that many Warriors games.
Well, yeah,
and they're keeping that connection alive. They're going to where their fans are. And this is an easy thing to do. Take a pre-season game there. See, I think that all the Warriors home games should be at Mount Smart. I don't think they should go anywhere else. I think these are the games that you move around the country. The promotional games. You make Mount Smart a fortress is what you do. And I think it cost the Warriors last year a couple of those games.
They only had one.
Brisbane, Wellington.
Yeah, they won the Wellington one.
Yeah.
So
Wasn't there Hamilton had one? West Tigers?
there was a West Tigers
that a
home
West
game.
Tigers
It wasn't
game?
a Warriors home game. And the Panthers game, well, Magic Round's not really up to them, but anyway.
Trent Bolt back in the Black Caps.
Yay.
No, you see, I don't. I don't at all think. I think it's time New Zealand cricket. Come on. I mean, this guy's now making a mockery of it, mate. You get selected to play for your country. You don't select when to play for your country. He's been a great servant. All of that. I acknowledge all of that, and he's been brilliant for New Zealand cricket. But the only reason that you're a multi-millionaire getting paid all around the world to play these Mickey Mouse tournaments is because you played for New Zealand. Because you had a fantastic international career. That's why. So it does offend me now that he's decided, look, he wants to play the T20 World Cup because he's got an ego the size of a horse, and that's good because you need that as a sports person, but that's where the glitz and glamour is. There's no glitz and glamour, Trent, playing Major League Cricket in America. There's no glitz and glamour playing in Azerbaijan or wherever the hell else you play, mate. No one cares and no one watches and no one remembers.
Yeah,
So that's why he's back for this series.
Well, I think it's up to New Zealand cricket to put their foot down and say, you know what? No, we're
Enough's
done.
enough.
We're done selecting.
We've got Will O'Rourke here. He's just had 4 wickets in his first at-bowl test innings. You know,
his debut test innings, yeah.
ration has come from domestic cricket. Support your own domestic product and reward the people who are staying and playing. Trent, you've done your time, mate. Unless, of course, you're prepared to turn out and play test matches against Australia.
No, every time you get picked, you play. That's what you do. You don't get to choose.
But this is what New Zealand cricket is these days. Amelia Kerr, same thing. Sophie Devine, same thing.
Yeah.
You know, they just decide when they want to play, when they want to turn up. I just think it's just, you know, how can you want us to be interested?
Who's it benefiting?
Them, the players, no one else. It's their bank balances. They're getting rich. That's fine. I don't mind that. But if that's the case, give up your place in the New Zealand
Is it
team.
helping your national... If you're New Zealand cricket, you're sitting there going, is us allowing these players to go and play for T20 leagues as opposed for the national teams, particularly for the women, is this benefiting our national game? No. There's nothing about it.
If you remember, Sophie Devine moaned during the last T20 World Cup that the domestic competition wasn't good enough and good enough preparation.
Yeah. And it doesn't play domestic cricket for Wellington over the last month or so.
Exactly.
But she's away in another tournament. Or she was having a sabbatical or something
That's right,
in Perth.
because she needed it. Because
she took a break.
Yeah, that's because she played too much of these tournaments.
Is so hard.
No, look, I think it's time that the handbrake was put up on Trent Bolt. Either commit to playing for New Zealand or go.
I'm really sick of players who already have corners cut for them in life, in a sense, with really nice paychecks. You play a sport for your job.
Yeah, hello.
I mean, you get so many luxuries, and you're getting even more corners cut for you. Yeah, stop it. No, I don't get to choose when I can work. I don't get to say, oh, sorry, dear leader Sean Plunkett, I'll work a Wednesday,
what we'll do is
but I want Mondays and Fridays off.
we'll go to the Rugby World Cup because that's a world event. It's bloody glamorous. We're in Paris, but we don't really want to come back and work out of our St. Luke's office anymore.
And actually, while we're over there, we're actually not going to work. We'll just go to some of the games. Like, no, you don't get that.
You don't get to choose, do you? No, honestly, I'm over it.
To be fair, we're probably not a great comparison because we've got a break.
Because we talk about sport for a bloody job.
That's not really a job, is it?
Halberg's tonight. Again, I'm not going to go through every single category. Telfer will do this, courtesy of JK's World of Golf. We bring us Brendan Telfer every Wednesday. We'll do that around about 3:30. That's Sports Man of the Year. We'll go through the main category, Sportswoman of the Year, Team of the Year, Coach of the Year, all of that. But just moment of the year. Do you agree with me? The Ireland victory for the All Blacks? I mean, look, all of the moments, as far as the moments list go, are brilliant moments.
I'll tell you what mine is. Mine's this.
That's nicely done. Hand is off after it. Wilkinson's in the middle. Wilkinson!
Yeah, look, I had that in my top 3. Okay, that and also Wagner's wicket. But any of them, to me, it's got to be one of those you will remember where you were, what you were doing, and who you were with moments. It has to be that. Those are the 3 defining criteria for me.
Yeah, and for me, that one ticks all... I mean, all 3 of them tick those boxes, but I just think there was something unique and almost monumental about that for the football ferns. The All Blacks have won World Cups before, have won big games before, and as much as we thought they were massive underdogs in that quarterfinal, I mean, you could see a route for them to win.
Yeah, you could.
For the football ferns, we said, okay, if you can beat the Philippines in this group, which, by the way, they ended up losing. So
and that was the game we should have won.
But
there was no hope of beating Norway.
Norway were in the top 20 in the world or something.
I gave them zero chance winning the game. And we played bloody well.
Well, we should have scored a second goal. We had a penalty. And we were the better team in that
goal
game.
too from Hannibal.
It was a great goal. It's if that happened in a men's football game, I'd sit there going, "That's a bloody good goal."
Yeah, it's a bloody good goal. Great passing.
Two or three really good passes, pinpoint, really good run down the right.
And there's
wing.
this Hannah Wilkinson who's done nothing for the football Ferns for so long. I mean,
And
right
not
place,
really
right
anything
time.
since, apart from a red
And that's
card.
the most disappointing thing. I mean, that moment was brilliant. But then again, I suppose I can say, hey, the All Blacks beating Ireland was brilliant, and then we didn't go on and win it.
Yeah.
But
I think you need to isolate the moment.
The moment.
And that moment, out of all of them for me, was it was one of the most uplifting as a New Zealand sports fan, but also monumental that it had expanded on previous feats in that sport, if that makes sense.
And now the football Ferns are just taking the long handle to Samoa and Tonga.
Yeah, they beat
Fiji.
Vanuatu 5-0 yesterday.
You know, it's just embarrassing. And I know that, this inflates Yitka's winning record and it inflates the goals tally and everything. I mean, we're playing women that don't play football, that aren't even amateurs. And we're absolutely thrashing them at the moment in this OFC tournament, which we have to do. I mean, it's like the Black Caps at the moment. You know, you play the South African team. You only play who you play, don't you? But your thoughts on this, I'd love. 0800 332 in terms of what moment you would like to vote for. We'll finish on the Super Bowl, Auckland, most watched TV broadcast of all time, the 100 most watched TV broadcasts of all time in America, all Super Bowls, apart from, I think, the final of MASH, the television series MASH. I think that was actually one of the top 100. But no great shakes or surprises because it drags in a hell of a lot of people who don't normally watch the NFL. The NFL, every year, are the most watched TV programs anyway. But Super Bowl's something else. And they do get it right. I'm not interested in the halftime show. I couldn't care less, really. I've even gone off the television ads bit because they used to be really clever ads. Now it is just about getting the biggest Hollywood star in your ad. And it's got a bit tedious and a bit boring and a bit samey. But in terms of the game was great. And you can't deny that many people going out of their way to watch something on telly.
Yeah, of the top, I know for a fact, of the top 30 most watched US broadcasts of all time, 29 are Super Bowls. One of them is the MASH finale.
Man, they just kill it, don't they? And every other sport in America is desperate to try and become as big as the NFL. You've got to remember the NFL is only goes for 17 rounds, 4 weeks of playoffs.
Yeah, and only 2 or 3 days of games.
That's it. It's not even 6 months of the year.
This year's one was quite a big one in the sense that previously you get the last sort of, you get the 6 or 7 most watched Super Bowls of all time. And they're all within about 2 or 3 million viewers of each other. And then there's a massive gap now between this year's one and second, which was last year's one. And it's like an 8 million gap. Okay, and you know what that is?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Exactly.
And that, you can't deny what that woman has done. She didn't need to do it for this sport. I mean, it would have actually been better if she was dating an ice hockey guy or if she was dating a rugby player. Can you imagine what that would have done for the sport of rugby?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. If she football doesn't need it.
If it was a New Zealand rugby player, my goodness, our media would have just fainted.
But if it was any other sport, if it was, just pick a sport and think, okay, what sport needed the publicity? The NFL didn't need the publicity. No. It didn't. Which is such a shame. And so, I mean, I know it's a love story and everything else. And
Canadian Football League, imagine that.
Well, what say it was a table tennis player? That would be the coolest sport in the world right now for a whole generation of young women, wouldn't it? Rah, 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 hype and hoopla. Super Rugby's big launch today. Captain's Call, a viaduct in Auckland. Good on them. Look, they're doing as much as they can to make it exciting and try and make it interesting and try and get you engaged before the competition kicks off. Not this weekend, but the following weekend. Jamie Wall was at the launch for us. So this was where all the captains gathered this morning. I've seen the promotional photos and things, yeah?
Correct. Yeah. And it's a beautiful day. Auckland's really turned it on. They picked a really good spot to do their captaincy photo and with the trophy. And that's what they're all fighting for. And they've all assured us that that's the most important thing on their minds right now. But I have to say, good on Super Rugby, SANZAAR, NZ Rugby, Rugby Australia for putting this together. It's the first time in a long time that a media launch like this has been done, and we've got about a dozen Australian media have come over for it. All of the mainstream media are attending from New Zealand, so it's really good to get everyone in the same place at the same time and have a decent chat with all the captains.
Yeah, and look, it needs a rah-rah, and it will get good coverage as a result of this, and it's what the competition, which is only just over a week away now, Jamie, it's desperate for.
Yep, we've just been talking about that right now, actually, just about how obviously the things that happened last year, and when I say that, I mean I'm talking about lower crowd numbers and issues with just the perception of the competition, especially in comparison to the NRL. It's really heartening to see that the powers that be have obviously noticed that just as much as the fans have and are doing something about it. We've not only seen this launch happen this week, but also just an assurance through the administration that some laws are going to be tweaked and we're not going to be seeing the sort of kicking jills that are happening up in the Northern Hemisphere, as well as just some offside interpretations that are going to mean that we're going to see more running rugby. So, which is what Super Rugby is all about anyway. I mean, we're going to see it anyway, but it's just nice to know that they're coming out there and assuring us that this competition is going to be what Super Rugby always has been, which is an exciting, fast-running product.
Look, and it's easy to be cynical because that's what we do on this side of the microphone, but I'm actually applauding this. To me, it kind of... Look, it's never going to evoke what happened back in the 90s when Super Rugby was at its absolute zenith and everything else. But as you say, they're thinking about it, they're trying, and the fact that they've decided to assemble all the media means they know what the result of that is. Listen, if you put food and beverage provided at the end of the press release, every single reporter from here to Timbuktu, and that will be there. Yeah, and they'll give you favourable coverage. Good on them for actually thinking that, hey, we need this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about that, though. It's about the fact that we can actually bank up like a week and a half's worth of content.
There you go.
For our platforms as well. And, that's really important that we get that, that coverage, because if they just put up the New Zealand captains just for one day, that's only a few days. This way, we've got a whole bunch of stuff all the way right up to the first game, which is going to be really exciting. I just talked to Scott Barrett and Luke Jacobson about a rematch of last year's finals. Luke Jacobson was really actually pretty honest when he said, yeah, there's some bad blood. We're not happy about what happened last year. We're out for revenge. We want to do it for our fans who showed up in force for us last year, which is great to hear. Scott Barrett played a bit more of a straight bat because that's what he does. But I think it's going to be a really interesting opening.
It's the best game that they could have put up first up, isn't it? You've got to play that. I mean, this is what the NRL do. This is what the NFL do. And it just makes absolute sense, wasn't it? I mean, you need to grab the headlines on the very first weekend that it's on. Put last year's final, put those two best teams. But having said that, Jamie, have we seen the final in the very first round in the very first game?
Oh, well, I mean, maybe. That's what happened last year. I certainly wouldn't bet against these two teams going at it again in the final, just looking at their squads and looking at the way that the other teams are shaping up. But, it's a long competition. It goes, 14 weeks and plus your finals and everything. So, yeah, it's a safe bet at the moment, but we're really going to know, after the first game, who's in form. And then there's all the All Black storylines to look out for as well. And not just that, they've also got a big Australian derby in the first round as well. New South Wales playing Queensland in their first game. Spoke with Tate McDermott about that. He's fired up about that, proud Queenslander that he is. And he knows that Australian rugby just in general has a real point to prove just after what happened last year, where it was just disaster after disaster for them. So, really good, honest chat with him. And, feeling pretty good right now.
Brendan Telfer, man with 50 years broadcasting experience in New Zealand, covering sport, the BTE every Wednesday. Halberg Awards to talk about. But Brendan, first up, not impressed at all with this South African side, this excuse for a test side. Not blaming the players, but this is who the administrators sent us. Why not, Telf? What is going wrong at the moment with this particular match for you? My big beef is with the fact that the South Africans have sent such an understrength side here. And look, I don't want to be disrespectful to the guy Sean Van Berg or Von Berg or whatever, 477 first-class wickets, but he looks like a club bowler, Brendan. Come on.
Yeah, no, exactly. And he's 37. I think he's playing his first test, isn't he? Well, the impression I get from the South Africans, based on what they did in the first test or how they played in the first test, they know they're going to get beaten. And it's only a matter of by what sort of margin. So they're trying to just spin the test match out as long as they can. I mean, yesterday, 89 overs, and they were averaging just over 2 runs per over. They won the toss and batted because they thought this is a good pitch to bat on, and they couldn't score more than 2.5 runs and over. This morning, in that first session, and New Zealand is complicit here, I suppose, in this as well, between them they scored 49 runs of the two teams this morning for the loss of 5 wickets, and the run rate was 2.01. It's slightly faster and quicker in this afternoon session. But, I'm thinking when I see these New Zealand bowlers, like they were yesterday, our pace bowlers, struggling to dismiss South Africa they took 3 wickets, the pace bowlers, yesterday, and Ravindra took 3. And the Australians are here in a week or so's time, and they're sending their full-strength side. The best cricket team in the world, I would say, with all due respect.
No, they are. No question.
England and India. And that's the other contrast. What a fantastic series that's been so far. It's a 5-test match series. The third one can't be far away. It's Baz ball versus Sharma ball, and it just rollicks along at a fantastic pace. And then you look at this stuff here, and it's like watching live coverage almost of club cricket. But,
and that's what it is, and that's what we've been enforced upon. And I don't think nearly enough was made of what Steve Waugh said from Australia. He was really forthright about it. He said New Zealand should say stuff off and go back home. If that was If that was a South African side, well, they can't do it, obviously, Brendan. They can't do it for whatever administrative and contract reasons and stuff like that. But his point was simply that, if you're going to send that team to Australia, well, we're going to put out a Australia D team, and then we're not going to call it a test match if that's the case.
No, the finger, I think, should be pointed at New Zealand cricket. I haven't heard New Zealand cricket publicly express any real concern at all about this E-team that has been sent here, this South African team with none of the top 50 players. Why has New Zealand cricket been so kind of tame?
Because they tried to sell it, mate, as a series worth watching, and it's meant to be one of the best teams in the world, because that's what their cheesy PR bollocks is, mate.
Well, behind the scenes then, I wonder whether they're reading the right act at the ICC, who also have been conspicuous in their silence. Where are they coming out and giving South African cricket, a verbal smack around the ears and reprimanding them? I think I mentioned this week. They should be fined. They should be losing World Test Championship points. But everyone just seems quite happy with what's happening.
Well, no, I don't think so. I just think that whoever is actually a dissenting voice won't get any publicity and certainly won't get any media coverage, mate. I mean, unless you're Steve Waugh or somebody like that, everyone just turns and looks away. If you listen to the TVNZ commentators, I'll tell you what your best bet is. Turn on the Sens commentary with Daniel McCarthy, Coney and Ian Smith. Because the TVNZ commentary, like it is for the rugby, they are told that they have to be really positive about it and they can't be critical. They should be actually saying those words, Brendan. They should be saying, look, no disrespect to these players. They all want a test jersey. Good on them. But 56 of them have been left behind, Brendan. So none of these guys would be here if that's the case.
And as I said, I keep thinking that in a couple of weeks the Australians are coming here.
Yeah.
Now, just on the question of our quicks at the moment, we've sort of patting ourselves on the back and saying we've got a good kind of group of fast bowlers. We've got about 6 or 7 of them. In fact, two of our, you imagine, first choice speedsters, Jamison and Ferguson, aren't even playing in this test match. They're being rested. But yesterday, as I said, there was our top-rate, quicks and pace bowlers struggling to make any impression on this South African E-team. And the Australians are here in a couple of weeks. And I tell you what, I imagine also the Australian quicks, the likes of, Stark and Hazelwood, and those two in particular, and Cummins, will be licking their chops at the thought of getting on these slightly greener wickets here in New Zealand and, making merry hell with this New Zealand side. So I fear for this series against Australia. I think I read somewhere the other day that we've only won 1 test against Australia from the last 31 we've played.
Let's talk about the Halberg Awards, and I've already chosen my moment of the year, and I know that you don't really like that award, so I just want you to go through the others and reminding people that the Supreme Award is judged from the sportswoman, sportsman, team and coach, isn't it? So the winners of those go in. Okay, so again, it's an impossible exercise and an inexact science, but in the sportswoman, you've got Courtney Duncan, who's just been dominating motocross. You've got Elise Andrews winning World Championship gold medals, Erica Fairweather in swimming, and her World Championship in the pool, which has just happened, can't, of course, go into these awards. Lisa Carrington, who wins the World Championships every fortnight they held, and Zoe Sadowski-Synnott, who won it all last year. So, I mean, it's impossible, as I say, to try and figure out what between motocross and snowboarding, but who do you think is going to win that one?
Well, you have to look at, again, the kind of, regulations and the guideline put down by the Halberg Trust in their kind of constitution. They want excellence in international sport, so therefore I don't think it's that difficult. I mean, Lisa Carrington won another 3 world canoeing titles last year, 2 of them in singles events, the 200, the K200 and the K500 from memory, and then she was in the K4 500 as well. So I think she's clearly got the best international record. The others have all had great years, I accept that, and certainly Duncan was their fourth, I think, world motocross
I think it's third in a row or something.
But that doesn't mean anything. It's only about what she did in 2023. Now, I like Sadowski Synnott as well. Something about her. She's just a very classy kind of person when she's on the ski slopes. She's just about the best in the world in the particular events that she performs in. But Carrington, Dame Lisa would get my nod there.
Okay, so Dame Lisa gets the woman. As far as the men goes, Aaron Gates cycling again, gold on the track. Adi Savir, World Rugby Player of the Year. Paul Cole with squash. Ryan Fox winning at Wentworth his whole year, but I think it's that tournament. And Shane van Gisbergen, who won his first NASCAR race. How the hell do you pick out of that?
Well, the first thing I'll say, Martin, how on earth in the Halberg Sports Man of the Year for 2023 does a guy called Rachin Ravindra miss out on one of those 5 spots? Can you tell me? Can you answer that for me first?
Good question, actually, because it was at the One Day World Cup that he did perform. Yeah.
I mean, I just, again, went back and looked at his run tally. 578 runs at an average of 65, 3 centuries. He outbatted some of the superstars of world cricket, the Joe Roots and the...
and he broke
Smiths
Tendulkar's record, didn't he? I mean, something crazy like that, yeah.
Okay, Tendulkar and Sharma scored more runs than him because they played in more matches because they were in the final. But he was also named the ICC Emerging Player or the Young Player of the Year, and we can't fit him into the top 5 sportsmen of the year for 2023. I mean, I've got nothing against those guys, the names that you've just reeled off, and they've all got good CVs from 2020, but Ravindra should be there, but he's not. I imagine he certainly might be in it this year for his double century, and he's at the wicket at the moment, scoring runs pretty freely as well.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show, 1 till 4, Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do though is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.